Good evening, everyone. So, we will start today's discussion with our usual peace invocation, Shanti Mantra. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah Harihi Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahavityam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhetamastu Ma Vitvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. So, last class we discussed about Upasana. So, this class I had something in mind to discuss about, but before we go ahead with the topic, which is basically based on some Yoga Sutras, how to develop more objectivity towards ourselves. And what is the crucial point in that? So that is what I wanted to discuss here. Basically, more objectivity and openness to investigate whatever we are very sure about. Whatever we have a doubt is not a problem, it's easy. But whatever we are very sure about, that usually is what directs us into action and takes our life forward. So if we want to realign ourselves with the higher reality, with the divine reality, we must be able to have an open, investigative attitude and skepticism regarding our personal reality. So this is what I wanted to discuss today. But before that, I heard there is a question. Somebody has a question. So if they present the question, I can address that and then proceed with the class. Or I will keep talking. When the question comes, we will handle it. So there is no question here yet in the chat, right? So I will proceed with the topic. In the meanwhile, I request the person to post their question or be ready with the question. Right. Now about the mind, our relationship with the mind. The main uh, excuse me, Miss Swati, is there any problem with the recording? It keeps repeating recording in progress. Is it getting disrupted?
No, sir.
It keeps repeating. It usually says only recording in progress once.
Yes.
But it keeps repeating recording in progress, recording in progress. So I don't understand this.
No, it is correct for me, sir, here.
Oh yeah, okay. So I'll ignore it. Right. So Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho. Mind alone is the reason. Mana eva means alone. Mind alone is the reason for the human being's bondage or liberation. Both bondage and liberation. So the way the mind functions takes you more in the direction of bondage or takes you more in the direction of liberation. This is what sage Patanjali in Yoga Sutra calls as klishta and aklishta. When he classifies the various chitta vrittis, the various movements of the mind, when he classifies the various modes of the mind in Yoga Sutra, he gives a two-pronged broad classification: pain causing and not pain causing. Yeah. So, what is pain causing? He says, it's amazing how it is defined. Pain is not defined based to more into strengthening of the afflictions and strengthening of the patterns of karma. That is considered painful. Klesha karma. So, whatever puts you more into the cycle of struggle, to put it in a very simple way, whatever gets you more involved in the pattern of struggle, in the pattern of result oriented action, in the pattern of need, drive, goal cycle, and gets you attached to situations and makes you develop or reinforces your likes and dislikes or develop new likes and dislikes, and whatever reinforces your personal identity, whatever reinforces and makes you identify more with your personalities and all your self image that you have created based on the body. Cling to life, your tendency to cling to situations, and your desire for the organic desire and the rush for physical and life experiences through your body and senses, which increases the agitation in your prana, right? So all these things are called as klishta, pain causing. This is all reinforcing your kleshas. Klesha means the causes of pain. So that which creates pain is klesha. Means the cognitive patterns that sustain and propagate the cycle of struggle, right? So that is called klesha. Karma is basically enjoying of the result, sense of doership, then the result and wanting the result, then enjoying of the result, ownership of the result, which again reinforces your addiction to action, the bondage within the pattern of action and result, that is karma. Compulsive action and or attachment to non-action, basically attachment or self-definition that comes from the result of various actions and non-actions that we do. So this is karma, klesha karma. So this wheel of klesha and karma keeps getting reinforced. So whatever mode of the mind helps you or pushes you to reinforce these patterns of karma and klesha, that is called, defined as painful, pain causing. Whatever helps you to liberate from this pattern, whatever helps you whatever does not push you more into this pattern, neutral, or whatever helps you to liberate yourself, your buddhi and your mind and yourself from this pattern of klesha and karma, that is called as painless. So painful and painless. There is no happy vritti. No, whatever we experience as happy, the experience of happiness or the joy that we experience is another vritti. So the basically, because you are feeling joyful and happy in a given moment through a sensation or an experience, now that does not by itself make it painful or painless. Now this is the whole uh, the key here is the experience by itself may be joyful and pleasant or painful and unpleasant. That experience by itself does not put it under the category of pain causing or non pain causing. Your relationship with that experience is what puts you in one of the categories. How that experience affects you in your path to liberation, that's what defines that experience as painful, or it is your relationship with the experience that defines whether it is painful or painless. Okay, klishta or aklishta. Now the purpose. So when we are dealing with the mind, when we are dealing with the different modes of the mind, the purpose is very clearly set. Vrittayaha, panchadayaha, klishta, aklishta. It could be pain causing or non pain causing. And they are of 5 categories, 5 types. 5 types, 2 broad categories, right? So the way in which we are going to deal with every mode of mind, the relationship with every mode of mind is based on our moksha purushartha. It is based on our goal. Whatever knowledge we are applying in a given context becomes relevant or not, useful or not, only based on its relationship to our goal. It is our dedication to a goal that invokes the application of the knowledge that is already inside us, or seeking the knowledge that is available out there. So it is the purushartha that invokes the knowledge. We have discussed this many times, right? So let us keep this direction in mind. So whenever we are dealing with the different modes of the mind, the goal is freedom from the patterns of struggle. That is the goal. Now, there are 5 types of mental modes: sleep, memory, imagination based on words, wrong knowledge, right knowledge. These are the 5 modes of mind. Pramana, viparyaya, pramana, right knowledge; viparyaya, erroneous knowledge; smriti, memory; vikalpa, imagination based on words; and nidra, sleep. And there are very elaborate definitions and discussions on each of these vrittis. We don't have to go into all that. Basically, right knowledge belongs to the mind, wrong knowledge belongs to the mind. What distinguishes right knowledge from wrong knowledge changes from context to context. Okay, so now what is right knowledge at a certain level of functionality may become wrong knowledge in a deeper level of functionality. We can see this in science, right? We say this there is mass, there is energy, and then when you go into quantum world, the whole thing is different. Mass, energy, it's all mixed up. Energy behaves as mass. Whatever we consider as mass is actually energy. And then you say there is an object. For example, somebody tells you, please bring the apple. So you go and see in the fruit basket, there is an apple, there is an orange, there is banana. You identify this is apple, and then you bring the apple. Here is the apple. Now, this is an apple, this is an orange, this is a banana, is correct knowledge. But if you go into the next level of reality, or if you go into one more level in a broader level, let us say, let us not go into even scientific or atomic level. I'll go into a broader level. Somebody tells you, instead of telling an apple, they say, bring a fruit. So you go to the table. There is a basket full of, apples, oranges, bananas, papaya, mango. There is another basket full of potato, brinjal, a lady's finger, cabbage, and beans. Now, you will take something from this basket of fruits. So, banana is a fruit, orange is a fruit. Bring a fruit means you will go to the fruit basket. You will not go into the vegetable basket. So, though orange, apple, banana, mango, all of these are different, they are all the same when it comes to the category of fruits. But when it comes to individual category, each one is different. Correct? So then again, within the apple, there are categories. There is the peel, there is the skin, there is the pulp, there is the seed. So you want to eat the apple, means what? You will not eat the stem. You will not, probably you will peel the skin, because you don't, they say the apple has wax. Eat an orange, you will peel the skin. Nobody wants to eat the peel of the orange. You will peel the orange and then remove the seeds, and then maybe remove all those little fibers, and then eat the orange. So eating the orange, then you say, no, hey, you said you will eat the orange, but you have not eaten so many parts of the orange. Then you say eating the orange means basically eating the pulp. Right? So depending on the category, depending on the plane in which we are discussing, what is right changes. What is relevant changes. Correct? But cognitively, what happens inside us? So here we are talking about, when we are dealing with our mind, we are not talking about whether something is right or wrong. Now we are talking about knowledge. We are talking about the experience in the mind of right knowledge. When I say something is correct, no, this is right. They say Nishchayatmika Buddhi. Buddhi is the faculty that comes to the conclusion. When my conclusion is proven wrong, it becomes wrong conclusion. But at the time when I am experiencing a conclusion in my head, at that moment, I feel it is right. Correct? The moment I feel this is right, and if it points to a certain direction of the action, immediately that conclusion is followed by an urge to act. For example, a person with Alzheimer's disease or a beginning stage of Alzheimer's disease, they forgot whether they locked the door or not. They walk a little bit away, then they say, hey, I don't know whether I locked or not. I think I didn't lock. Yeah, I did. I must have forgotten. Then he goes and checks, he has locked. So there is a doubt, and then you check it, and then you see, yes, I have locked. You come to a conclusion. Yes, I have locked. But let us say you are going back to the house, you are looking at the door. When you go back to the house, you look at the door from a distance and you see the lock hanging. Then you come to a conclusion, yes, I have locked it, and then you come back. But then later you hear from your family member, they say, hey, you had gone without locking the door. Then you say, no, I saw the door, the lock was hanging on the door. Yes, the lock was hanging, but you forgot to lock. It is just simply hanging without being actually locked. So what was the right conclusion now is wrong conclusion. But at the moment, the mind creates the feeling that I have locked, correct? The conclusion, you have arrived at a conclusion, I have locked the door by looking at the lock hanging in the door from a distance, which is hiding the fact whether it is really pushed inside, the lever is pushed inside and locked with the key properly. That knowledge is not available, but you are guessing it and you come to a conclusion. The same thing happens in what we call as a mirage, correct? In a hot day, when you go in a highway, you see water on the road. You experience water. Visually, you are experiencing water. Then you slow down, but then as you go near, you see it is not water. It is. Then you remember your high school lesson in physics about mirage, heating of the air in next to the road, and then the refraction of the light and all that, and then it gives you the effect of water. You remember all. You may not remember the detail, but at least you know this is mirage. You come to a conclusion. Even though you are experiencing water, your conclusion is there is no water. Right? This is very important. This is the main point used in Vedanta. Okay. So, at one level in the mind, it concludes, water. In the next level, the knowledge kicks in that this is mirage, and you are negating the conclusion of water. This is water is changing into this looks like water. Really correct. It does look like water. First time after the mirage lesson in the science class, when I went out, so I started looking for mirage everywhere as a kid. Mirage, So then I could appreciate the experience with the knowledge. One part of my mind says this is water, and then immediately that water idea is negated and says this is mirage. But at the level of the sensory experience, it's like water. So the water is still there. So we say it is like water, but we know it is not water. Right? So pramana, the right knowledge. In our context, for our discussion right now, is an experience. Once the right knowledge, what we consider as right knowledge, is falsified and replaced by a higher knowledge, what we considered right knowledge becomes wrong knowledge, and the higher I think I had a disruption. When did I got disconnected?
Right knowledge.
Hello?
Just for a second, it's
Right
fine. You're back.
knowledge. Only one.
Oh, just for a second? Okay. This technology. Nothing like a live class. Zoom is annoying every time. Okay. So when the right knowledge is replaced, what we consider as right knowledge is replaced by a knowledge that has a broader validity, then what we consider right knowledge becomes limited and is seen as wrong knowledge. right? Then something else comes. So we have to understand this is right. Whenever we come to a right knowledge, there is a certain experience of, there is a certain experience of a more intense presence of the self. The Vijnanamaya is experience. Whenever you are having knowledge, the Vijnanamaya is experience. That is, you feel a more intense. For example, uh, there is a certain brightness in the mind. If you observe yourself very clearly, very keenly, if you observe your experience, for example, you are sitting for meditation, right? So there are thoughts, some memories, all that is coming. You are chanting your mantra. You have decided that you have to chant your mantra. It's going on. If somebody asks you, what are you supposed to do now? You will say, I am supposed to chant my mantra. But suddenly you find yourself very deeply thinking about your monthly expenses and your Excel spreadsheet. Whatever I did in that, did I put that thing correctly? My investment or something, Suppose you are a stock investor. 9 o'clock, the 10 o'clock, the stock market opens, and you are doing japa. You know that there is only 15 minutes, but somehow you don't know whether the 15 minutes is gone or not because you wanted to log in when the market opens. So now that is there in your head, the background. So suddenly it feels the 15 minutes is gone, and you there is a panic. Oh, I oversat, or maybe you dozed off during japa, and you wake up with a panic. Oh my God, I dozed off. What is the time? You immediately rush and check the clock, and then you say it's only 5 minutes gone. Right? I still have 5 minutes left, so you're okay now. So that conclusion, suddenly you come to a conclusion. The conclusion has a consequence on you. Based on the consequence, it either makes you panic or makes you relax. So when the mind clicks on a conclusion, whenever you click on a conclusion, we don't question it. So there lies the trap. See, we are able to analyze the thoughts. We are able to analyze pleasant thoughts, unpleasant thoughts. Oh, this is a good line of thinking. This is a bad line of thinking. No, this is a healthy thinking. This is non-healthy thinking. Oh, I should not think like this. Oh, these are holy thoughts. These are very sattvic thoughts. So I should encourage this thinking, right? So whatever movement of the mind that follows your conclusion, you are okay with it. Whatever movement of the mind or experience that is not in line with your conclusion, you are not okay with it. But it is very rarely that we are objective towards our own conclusion. So whenever we have a very clear conclusion, we generally don't question it unless it is challenged from outside. That is why they say, Tasmat Shastram Pramanante Karya Karya Vastitau. That is why Shastra is Pramana, is to be considered as the right knowledge when it comes to the ethics of what is right and what is wrong, in what is right action, what is righteous action and non-righteous action, dharma and all that. For that, Shastra should be taken as the Pramana, as the right knowledge, and not your own conclusion. So always recheck your conclusions with the Shastra. That is the recommendation of Bhagavad Gita, right? So similarly, we can say in science, your conclusion is there is water, but you are checking it with the Shastra of physics, which says that is mirage. And then you are able to question your conclusion. Your conclusion must lead to a consequence. You conclude that there is water, and then you slow down. You are ready to you pull up your pants and all that, and then you are going there. But once you go there, there is no water. If you are in a desert, you are thinking there is water, you are very thirsty, you are running towards the oasis. But then when you go there, there is no water. You are still thirsty. It has not quenched your thirst. The water in the mirage cannot quench your thirst, right? So similarly, we have conclusions about the world. We say that married life will give me happiness, children will give me happiness, house and properties and all that, a good career will give me happiness. So we project a certain kind of stability and permanency and hope. So on certain things which gives us hope. And what we know from all the enlightened masters and on all the teachings and scriptures and from all spiritual traditions, that any kind of hope for happiness in an experience in the world is a wrong conclusion. There is no happiness in this world, period. So that's what all of them say. Now, this is a very tough pill to swallow, especially when your life is going well. When your life is not going well, in all the movies, in Indian movies, they will always show, somebody's lover left him. Then the guy goes to becomes a sannyasi. He becomes frustrated and he becomes a sadhu. All the properties is gone, loss in business. He runs away to Rishikesh, becomes a sadhu. Oh, some frustration in his life, he ran away from home and became a sannyasi. This kind of loose talk I have heard from my childhood. So generally what they think is, when you have very tough experiences in life, you might start questioning the uh, life as a very nice thing. You may lose hope in all the usual things, and then you will start seeking answers for some deeper things and what is going on and then all that. So that is usually. But if you are smart enough, if there is enough sattva in the mind, we will have enough objectivity to examine our own conclusions regarding what is okay, what is good and not good, or what leads to happiness and not happiness, etc. Who am I? What I think as myself to be? All these very deep seated conclusions that form our world view. So when I'm talking about the right knowledge, I'm talking at a very, very fundamental level. What we subliminally, in a very deep level, what usually we use the word believe, what we truly believe in. They ask you what you truly believe in. So that directs my. So what I believe as true. It's a wonderful line, because expression, what I believe, because you actually don't know whether it is true or not. What I deeply consider to be valid, let me put it like that. Whatever I consider at a very deep level with a lot of certainty and to be valid, I generally don't question that. I rush to act based on that. Now that is the trap of samsara. That is what this Yoga Sutra points us to examine. Whatever I deeply consider to be true and valid, let me examine it with this category of pain causing or non-pain causing. I may be considering something to be totally valid, but before I act on it, let me investigate a little bit more. Let me put a question mark to my own conclusion. Let me put a question mark to my very deep-seated belief and examine it in the light of the Shastra, in the direction of whether it puts me more into samsara, or it takes me out of samsara, or it does not put me more into samsara, at least helps me maintain my status quo, or helps me to relieve myself from samsara. It either puts me more into samsara, the patterns of struggle, or does it help me to relieve myself more and more from the patterns of struggle and take me closer to my own true nature, or take me closer to freedom or moksha from the established patterns. So every time I very strongly believe in something which I feel is directing my thinking and behavior, let me question that belief, that value that I have, and see how valuable is that value that I hold very dearly to myself? Because once it comes to that very deep-seated conclusions and beliefs that we have, we stop questioning. We question everything else with the attitude of whether those things are comfortable for my values or not comfortable for my values. That's how we question. A person with a very good discretion in life, generally, who lives life very consciously, in the normal sense, is ready to question everything around oneself, himself or herself, in the light of something, in the light of whether it is okay for my deep-seated conclusions, or I will use the word values and beliefs, okay, which are basically deep-seated conclusions. It's your philosophy, it's your unconscious philosophy that drives you to life, that makes you relate to life in a certain way. It is your unconscious philosophy that makes you connect to different life situations in a certain way. So it is very normal for a very conscious and a very uh, a deep living person, usually, whom we consider as a very conscious person, a very mature person, and all that, is that a very focused person. All we say in the normal sense, that person questions the decision, makes decisions based on whether it is okay for one's own deep-seated values and beliefs. Decides something is okay or not based on whether it is aligning with one's values and beliefs. That's about it. Whether my values and beliefs, are they good for me? Are my values and beliefs worth holding on to? That questioning is very rare. And that questioning usually doesn't happen unless pointed out, unless they are rudely challenged by some life context, or pointed out by somebody wiser than you in a conversation, or when you are in a discussion, or when you are studying Shastra, when you are discussing with the Guru, when you are in a satsanga, those values and beliefs, get shaken up. Then, when it's too much to handle, the person runs away and then finds comfort in any other sangha that is supporting their values and beliefs. There is this concept of U-turn theory. You can Google it. There is a lot of lectures on it in YouTube. The U-turn theory by Sri Rajay Malhotra. It talks about how Western scholars, these academicians and all that, they come to India or study Eastern mysticism, religions, or Eastern philosophy, study yoga, Vedanta, etc. for some time, very devout. And then when they go back to the West, it's too challenging for their very deeply established lifestyle choices or career choices or social life and other things, or the very deep-seated beliefs that are very hardwired to them from childhood. And then they take a U-turn. And if they are from a Christian background, they usually get back to Christianity. And then they repackage whatever they have learned here within the domain of Christian, within the domain of what is valid according to their deep-seated Christian belief. They take only that, or they sanitize it and take it, or what is okay for academics. Like, for example, you have Jungian psychology, that Carl Gustav Jung, he took everything from the Eastern thought, but he didn't take a complete U-turn, but he had to sanitize it within quotes and repackage it according to academic or requirements, or whatever is the framework of those days. And according to that, he had to create a theory, this psychology. So there are a lot of scholars who do that. And then there are these people who come and learn yoga and go back and start Christian yoga, right? I'm not telling whether it is right or not, but what I'm trying is, I'm using this as an example to what Sri Rajiv Malhotra discusses as a U-turn theory, that U-turn concept. All these U-turners are classical example of not being able to surrender to Shastra. When you are exposed to the challenge, when your deep seated values and beliefs are shaken up by the revelations in the Shastra, you take refuge in your own comfort zone. So, taking refuge in one's own comfort zone is what makes people want to talk about the inner guru, listening to the inner guru, listening to your own intuition. Let your intuition guide you. Your own intuition is nothing but your own conclusions based on your very deep seated values and beliefs. Now, so it's basically us being a sucker for inner comfort, emotional comfort. It's basically seeking an emotional comfort, whatever feels comfortable. So, whenever you are cognitively deep, conclusions, whenever you are the deep seated conclusions that drive you are being challenged, either in a discourse or by life experiences, that's when either one becomes completely directionless or goes and grabs on to something that is very comfortable. And then the life goes on based on that. And then the progress stops. The progress towards liberation stops right there. Because when whatever they considered as pramana becomes viparya, whatever they considered as right knowledge becomes wrong knowledge, they are not able to take refuge in the right knowledge. They are not able to take refuge. So they are trying to make the wrong knowledge as right knowledge simply because that's what they are comfortable with. I will tell a very simple example. I had very deep seated belief. Okay, it's going to shake you right now. All of us say if you do good things to everybody, only good things will come to you. Right? If you are a good person, you are a good person all your life. You don't harm anybody. You think only good thoughts for everybody. You wish everybody's welfare. You have not hurt even an ant. You do a lot of charity. For such a person, you should be like that, because for a person like that, only good things will happen. God will take care. God is great. Very normal, common man spiritual discourse. But this is not true. We have seen so many good people, absolutely unjustifiably undergoing horrible, getting hurt in a very horrible way, or some very unfortunate things happening in their life, or you see that one person is always telling lies and opportunist and cheating and street smart and everything, doesn't bends the rules here and there, and then you see that person going up in the corporate ladder. The person who is doing everything by the rule book and has good intention and everything, that person doesn't climb the ladder. It loses in many situations. Person gets exploited by everybody else, right? This happens. You see a politician living up to 100 years, the whole family is in power, nothing happens to them. And then a lot of good politicians get trolled, and they are not even come to power. We see that. So, if you do good, only good will happen to you is not essentially true. You do good because there is no choice. You understand, I have to be good for my own spiritual development. It is not for making sure that only good things will happen. Because I have good thoughts and I do good actions, it does not mean that only good things will happen. I might get, some total random. If I live in a country like America, some total random, some junkie can just come into, come into my. When I'm in a supermarket, one idiot can come inside and shoot everybody, and one stray bullet can hit me, and I can die. So that everybody has a gun. So if I am a good person, then I am in an American supermarket. There is no guarantee that I will not get shot. Then we say, after something happens, you say, no, there must have been something in the past life. See, all this is talk for accepting whatever the unfortunate event, in a graceful way so that we can move ahead. But this conclusion that only good things will happen to good people is not essentially true, because we see so many exceptions for it. It's all around us, especially in Kali Yuga, in our kind of society and in our life. There are so many exceptions to that. And because I am a cheat, I am a thing, God will punish me, something bad will happen to me. Absolutely not necessary. I can live 100 years very healthy and very rich and nothing happens to me, and then I die. After I die, all my scandal comes up. Who cares? I am dead. That also happens. So now this conclusion gets shaken. Then when this conclusion is shaken by life experience, in front of your eyes you see a good person getting hurt and a bad person thriving. Now what happens to your values? So then I will have to, my whole fundamental ethical system is shaken up. I consider some big Mahatma, some Baba or some Mahatma or somebody, some Guruji or somebody, as uh, as a great icon, spiritual icon, as an embodiment of perfection, avatar or whatever. And then there is enough proof that that person is in some sex scandal or some money scandal or some power play, or is a criminal, has done a lot of murders, is cleaning. That there is uh, uh, the person who is cleaning black money and supplying that to the terrorist. That person is considered as a saint, and then you suddenly think that you come to know that that person is doing this, then you don't know what to believe in, right? So the standards with which I form my conclusions, I am not even aware of it. I am not aware of it. I am not aware of what are the tools with which, how I am using, or what are the logical tools and what are the thinking mechanisms with which I arrive at my very deep-seated conclusions. I don't know. I have somehow arrived at a set of conclusions that are driving me every day. So it is very, very important to develop the habit of investigating my own deep-seated conclusions that drive me, to become aware of my conclusions and to analyze my conclusions in the light of an established pramana. In our context, when it comes to very deep-seated philosophical conclusions, you investigate those conclusions, you recognize them and investigate them in the light of Shastra, as the Shastra interpreted according to the tradition. Sampradaya, according to the Sampradaya, when the Shastra is interpreted, according to a Sampradayic interpretation of Shastra, you investigate your own conclusions, and that is what Swadhyaya is all about. And Swadhyaya is always done according to the Sampradaya. It is not self-study. Swadhyaya is not self-study. Then somebody says, analyzing your own self. Studying your own self is Swadhyaya. It's not Swadhyaya. It is study in keeping with the tradition in a specific way. So it is not self-study. It is proper study. It is to be understood, interpreted as proper study. What is proper study? Proper study means study based on valid pramana. What are valid pramana? Pratyaksha, Anumana, Agama, according to yoga. Anumana has different levels. So if you go to Vedanta, they will say 5 pramanas. You will say, Pratyaksha, Anumana, Arthapatti, Anupalapti. Can somebody help me? Anumana, Arthapatti, Anupalapti, Upamana. Yeah. So all these, by comparison, are different things, but these are all basically different levels of logic with which we arrive at. So it's basically perception, logic, and scripture, Shastra. Perception, logic, and Shastra. Shastra means Shruti, the Vedas, including the Upanishads, and the Smritis that are in line with the Shrutis, and all the commentaries and everything that are helping us to understand the vision of the Shruti that are given by the Sampradaya. So this alone is Shastra, nothing else. So that we need to be very clear. So if at all we see something else which is giving us spiritual knowledge, we have to benchmark. This is the benchmark. Okay, Shastra according to Sampradaya is the benchmark. So whatever is there, we will have to compare it with this and see, take only what agrees with the Shastra Pramana, and we will have to reject whatever is no, it's too much of a compromise or a twist or goes off in a tangent. We don't have to take all. No matter how powerful the individual is, one might be a siddha. We may be living in the spiritual company of a great siddha purusha, a master kind of a person where he has tremendous ability to meditate and go into samadhi. The person may perform some miracles, bring things out of thin air, heal diseases, appear in your dreams and give you guidance, solve your life problems. That person may do all that. Great, I am living in the company of a great spiritual master. But that does not make whatever that person says as praman. It's very important. Personality cult and Shastra Pramana don't go together. So personality cult is personality. Personality cult and Pramana should not be confused. So Pratyaksha, Anubana, Anumana and Agama is Pramana. So when we understand this very clearly, we know that intuition is not valid knowledge. Intuition is not Pramana. If I ask you to intuit about something, let us say, now everybody is talking about American election. Who will win, Trump or Harris? So you have astrology person, trying to speculate it. There is a psychic who says, he saw that Trump will win or Harris will win. Some Baba Venga says there is going to be a World War III. All that is there. Now, the person. So how do you say that person's intuition is valid? Because you are comparing it with what actually happened in the last 20 years. Whatever this psychic said came true. 80% of what this psychic number one, whatever that psychic number one said was 80% true. Came true. Whatever psychic number two said, 90% came true. That is why the psychic number two is better than psychic number one. What are we using as valid knowledge here? Are we using the psychic prediction as valid knowledge, or are we using what happened and the actual event that happened, which we came to know by perception or extended perception through the news, right? That as valid knowledge. What are we using as valid knowledge here? Only perception, because the perception is what is validating the psychic prediction. It is not the other way around. So intuition is not pramana. Not a single shastra says intuition is pramana. Patanjali gives a small thing as a siddhi. In the 3rd chapter, he says pratibhadva sarvam. By the power of pratibha, which is the word used for intuition, everything can be known. So it is a faculty, yes. But again, it is valid only through pramana. How do you say the intuition is correct? The intuition is subject to validation by pramana. So intuition is not valid knowledge. So one cannot analyze the deep-seated values and beliefs that one have. Developing objectivity towards that is to observe the motivations behind our actions, and through that observation recognize the deep-seated values and beliefs that drive us into action and into a certain line of thinking. It is our deep-seated conclusions, values and beliefs that sustain a certain line of thinking on any topic. So we investigate that and become aware of that, and then subject that to the crucible of uncompromising investigation in line with established valid knowledge of perception, logic, and Shastra, and perception and the logic used according to the paksha, or according to the direction in which the Shastra uses logic. Logic in line with Shastra and perception. With that, we analyze our deep-seated values and conclusions under the guidance of the tradition, and we arrive at the knowledge that is useful for us, in the sense that helps to extricate ourselves from the patterns of struggle and move from pain to painlessness, from bondage to liberation. So that is the basic approach we need to develop in each one of us. So this is a Nishta. Nishta in Shastra comes by developing objectivity towards what we have, the mode of mind, what is called as pramana, or the feeling of right knowledge, the feeling that this is what I want, very deep seated conclusions and belief. By questioning our very deep seated conclusions and beliefs, scrutinizing them according to the guidance of the Shastra, will help us to evolve into the truth, from my personal illusion to the impersonal universal reality, that will help me to evolve out of my personal bubble of my personal truth into the universal eternal truth. So now I will have a look at the question that has been presented. Namaste. Most of us are told to have or to find the passion in one's life as one's direction. How a yogi or a practitioner may see the concept of passion. So, to a great extent, I answered it today in a way. Good. Yogi or a practitioner may see the concept of passion as a tool that will help me to find dedication. So, the passion is first regulated according to my knowledge of dharma. My passion is understood, appreciated, then aligned according to the knowledge of what is dharma, which is a growing clarity, of course. I align my passion with dharma, and I pursue my passion as a tool for concentration. I use the force of passion as a tool for dedication, developing dedication and concentration, ekagrata, and as a tool which is basically cultivation of my mind, the one pointedness, which I offer at the altar of the divine, where I take my mind. It helps me to take my mind from the result into the process. I can shift my attention from the result to the process, from the result to the action, to the right action, if I have passion. If I don't have passion, developing disinterest to the result and staying focused on the task with an attitude of surrendering the result to the Lord becomes more difficult if I don't have passion, because to do something without passion, I'm generally doing it for money or something. So then the result becomes the motivation. So it's easier to focus on the task and align the task and master the task and have a better, more mature attitude towards the result, a yogic attitude towards the result. That becomes easier if I follow my passion. So that's how, as a yogi, I would treat to find the passion in one's life. So for two purposes: one, for developing one pointedness, and two, for using it as a tool for karma yoga. The passion is usually connected to my swabhava. Swabhava means my inner programming. So if in the event of not being born in society driven by Varna Dharma. No? So I don't have a family duty or something, or a position of privilege, like I am the next heir to the throne, for example. So then my passion has to be my hobby. My passion, if I am not passionate about ruling the state, then ruling the state becomes my duty, and my passion could be my hobby, where it helps me to enrich my mind. So in the event of not being like that, all I know is only my passion, and then I don't have any binding situation where I am supposed to do something which doesn't have, which is my duty, but I cannot, which is my dharma. But somehow I am not very passionate about my dharma. Then my passion becomes a hobby. But if I am not in such a situation, my passion is connected to my swabhava, and that could be my swadharma. I can take my passion to be my swadharma and help me to concentrate on what I need to do for a living, and as my contribution to this society and the world, which is nothing but Ishvara. So my passion can become a tool of worship if I follow my, if I discover my, if I find my passion and follow that as my life's direction. It's much easier to convert work into worship. So that's how a yogi would see that. So I hope this answered. And if you want more clarifications, you can post that, and maybe we can continue that in the next class. Yeah. So with that, I will conclude this class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vadishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.